Hello students, in today's video we are going to study anatomy or structure of eye. We will also study physiology or the functions of eye, that is how do we see. Now as we all know, eye is a sense organ, it is an organ of sight. So look at this structure. This is the transverse section of the eye. So eye is almost spherical in the shape. Now this is the eyeball. Now this eyeball is filled inside with the fluids. Now this wall or the covering of eyeball is made up of 3 layers of the tissue. Outer fibrous layer or the outer protective layer that protects the internal structure of the eye. Now this outer layer is made up of this blue colored sclera on the sides and at the back. And in the front is present the transparent cornea. So the outermost layer is the fibrous layer and it is made up of this blue color sclera and the transparent cornea. Then the middle vascular layer shown here in the red color. Now this middle layer is richly supplied with the blood vessel and it is also known as the uveal tract. Now this middle layer is made up of choroid. So this is the choroid and this choroid is present on the sides and in the front is present the ciliary body and the iris. Then the innermost layer shown here in the yellow color. This innermost layer is known as the retina and this retina is made up of nerve cells. So these are the 3 tissue layers of the wall of eye. Now when we look externally at an eye, the eye looks white in the color. Now this white tissue layer or the white of eye is actually the sclera. So sclera is present on the sides and the back and in front is present the cornea. Now when the light reflected from an object falls on the cornea, this cornea, it bends the light rays, the light passes through the cornea and that light then reaches the lens. Now choroid, as we have already discussed, is the middle layer and it forms the inner surface of the sclera and as you can see here, this ciliary body is the anterior continuation of this choroid and this ciliary body, it consists of the ciliary muscles and secretory epithelial cells. Now let's understand the function of ciliary muscles and the secretory epithelial cells. Now as you can see here, this is the lens and this lens is enclosed in a capsule and these suspensory ligaments, they are found attached to the capsule. Now the ciliary muscles of the ciliary body give attachment to these suspensory ligaments and the epithelial cells of the ciliary body secrete a fluid. That fluid is called as the aqueous humor and this fluid, it fills the entire anterior segment of the eye. Then iris. Now as you can see here, iris is attached to the ciliary body. Now it is present, this iris, it is present behind the cornea and in front of the lens. Now this iris, it is made up of pigment cells and this iris, it gives the color to the eye. Now color of the eye like the black eye, blue eye, green eye, this all depends upon the pigment on the iris. So as we all know, this color of the eye is genetically determined. Now this iris, it consists of circular and radiating smooth muscles and as you can see here, in the center of the 2 iris is present a hole or an aperture which is known as the pupil. Now iris regulates the size of this pupil. Now as we all know, light is essential to see. Now here we should understand that in darkness, this pupil, it dilates. Now when the pupil dilates, the size of pupil increases. The size of this hole or the aperture increases so that more and more light enters the eye and we could see. Now on the contrary, in brightness, this pupil constricts. Now when the pupil constricts, the size of this aperture or the hole reduces so that only some small amount of light, small amount of required light enters the eye because too much light can damage the retina. So the function of iris is to regulate the size of the pupil, and iris gives color to the eyes. Now, as already discussed, this is the lens. Now, this lens lies immediately behind the iris and the pupil. Now, as we have already discussed, light reflected from an object first falls on the cornea. Cornea bends the light rays passes through the pupil and they fall on the lens. Now, the function of the lens is to focus those light rays on the retina. This is the function of the lens. Now, when the ciliary muscles of the ciliary body contract, thickness of the lens increases. The lens becomes thick. Now, the lens becomes thick to focus near objects on the retina, while it becomes thin to focus the distant or the far objects on the retina. So, this is the function of the lens. This is the retina. Retina is the innermost layer of the wall of eye, shown here in the yellow color. Now, this retina, it is composed of the nerve cells, and it is also composed of the light sensitive cells or the photosensitive cells known as the rods and the cones. Now, rods and the cones contain photosensitive pigment. So, when the light falls on the retina, these rods and the cones, they convert the light rays into nerve impulses. Now, cones are active during the daytime when the light is more, and these cones, they also mediate the color vision. That means we can see the colors only because of the cones, and the cones, they give sharpness to the vision. On the other hand, rods make us see in the darkness. Now, rods and the cones, they convert the light rays falling on the retina into nerve impulses. Now, these nerve impulses are collected by the nerve fibers. Now, all the nerve fibers of the retina, they converge to form the optic nerve. So, this yellow color here, structure shown is the optic nerve. So, all the nerve fibers of the retina, they converge and they form this optic nerve. Now, the point at which this optic nerve leaves the retina is known as the optic disc. Now, this optic disc is also known as the blind spot, as this structure has neither cones nor it has rods. Now, very important. Near the center of the posterior part of the retina is the macula lutea. Now, this macula lutea is also known as the yellow spot. Now, this macula lutea, it contains maximum concentration of the cone cells, and this macula lutea is responsible for visual acuity. That means it is responsible for the sharpness of vision. It is also responsible for the central vision and the color vision. So, this is the structure of the eye, where the eyeball, where the wall of the eyeball is made up of 3 layers of the tissue. This blue colored sclera and the cornea. Sclera and cornea, they form the outermost layer. Then the middle layer is the choroid. Choroid is attached to the ciliary body and the iris. So, this red color is the middle layer, and the innermost is the retina, which is made up of nerve cells and photosensitive cells, namely the rods and the cones. Now, let's understand the anterior structure of the eye. Now, eye is divided into 2 chambers. So, this is the anterior chamber and this is the posterior chamber. Now, in front, this is the lens. Now, in front of the lens is present a fluid called as the aqueous humor. Now, this aqueous humor is secreted by the secretory epithelial cells of the ciliary body. Now, this aqueous humor, it supplies nutrition to the cornea, it supplies nutrition to the lens and the lens capsule, as these structures have no blood supply. Now, behind the lens is present the vitreous body or the vitreous humor. Now, this is also a fluid. It is a soft, colorless, transparent, jelly-like substance. It is composed of 99% water, some salts and mucoproteins. Now, this vitreous humor, it maintains the intraocular pressure of the eye. And this intraocular pressure of the eye prevents the wall of eyeball from collapsing. So in the absence of this vitreous body, the eye will collapse. So this intraocular pressure is maintained by the vitreous body, and it prevents the wall of eyeball from collapsing. So this is the structure of the eye. This is the anatomy of the eye. Now after understanding the anatomy of eye, let's understand the physiology or the function of eye, that is, how do we see. So as already discussed, light reflected from an object, it falls on the cornea, and the cornea bends the light rays. Now this light then passes through the pupil, and it is the iris that regulates the size of the pupil. So the light passes through the pupil and the light falls on the lens. Now the lens focuses this light on the retina. Now the lens changes its power to focus the light on retina, and the lens becomes thick for near vision and it becomes thin for the far vision. Now the rods and the cones of retina convert the light rays into nerve impulse. Now the nerve impulses are then collected by the nerve fibers of the retina, and all the nerve fibers of the retina, they converge to form the optic nerve. Now this optic nerve carries these impulses to the visual area of the brain, and when these impulses they reach the visual area of the brain, we are able to see. So this is the anatomy and the function of the eye, the mechanism of the sight, that is how we are able to see. So this is all about the anatomy and function of eye. If you find the video useful, kindly like, subscribe and share this video. Thanks for watching this video.